Welcome back to the channel. Altered Intentions is no homegrown hustler, but we're making progress on it. Appreciate everyone that likes and subscribes. Here we go, talking about a little video about setting up the 4-link and setting up the ladder bar stuff and getting ready to do some fabrication on the new build. Appreciate it, guys. So guys, right now I'm just working on getting some of the ladder bar / 4-link bars together and everything lined up. So I'll go through and talk about some of these things we've talked about in previous videos, but the subscriber base is growing, and I greatly appreciate everyone that follows along on the journey. Screw it, life short, so let it all go racing. No. Okay, so here we are. We're going to go in and talk about a little more in depth about the Heim joints and setting up the Heim joints for fabrication purposes, okay? So I'd like to go through and probably do short videos, but I don't have time for all that stuff. So we're just going to go through and basically do daily updates. So if you want to follow along and learn tips about building a car from the ground up, you're gonna have to watch all of them, so that's gonna be great. We'll get a little more views and stuff like that, I guess, and then we'll be a YouTube superstar. No, so here we are. I guess we'll set that up here. So I don't know how to do this exactly, but I'll walk you through the process on how to do it. As you can see, we have an extra long bolt here. There's a reason for that extra long bolt there, and as you notice, it is a coarse thread bolt. We do not do coarse thread bolts in a race car, but it is set up for fabrication purposes because it makes my job a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficient when you use a coarse thread bolt for mock-up purposes. You don't have to turn the thread like on a 1/2-inch bolt. You only have to turn it 13 threads per inch instead of 20 times an inch. So on a 2-inch, we're using 2.5-inch bolts. As you can see, they're a lot longer. But as you can see, the shank right here is that part of the bolt right there, okay? If you start working on the threads, or if you have the threads going on the hole, you're gonna lose your tolerances, and those threads are gonna get rolled over. And when you roll over a thread, you can't get your nut on. That's not that big of a deal. But the real issue is you start changing your the tolerances and the amount of flats in your adjustment in your ladder bar setup or your 4-link setup. So a flat is there's 6 sides to a hexagon, right? So there's 6 sides here of a nut. One nut, I guess we could use one of these guys for example, okay? Turning this guy, okay, 1/6 of a rotation is 1 flat of adjustment, okay? Now, if I wanted to go in more in depth about this, 1 flat of adjustment is X amount of inches per thread, okay? And I know most of those off the top of my head, but that's just because I've been doing this for a while. But if you have like a 1/2 20 thread, or a 1/2-inch 20 thread, or a 3/4 16 thread, 1 flat of adjustment is a numeric value, and it's always going to be that way because it's just the thread pitch of what it is. So when we go into start doing like a lot of power and starting to go fast and stuff like that, a couple flats of adjustment, it will steer a car to the right or to the left, or especially if it gets up on the rear tire and it's carrying the front tires for a ways. With the 33, the Homegrown Hustler, we carry the front tires from 65 miles an hour all the way up to 165 miles an hour. Front tires never touched the ground, and it went straight down Main Street. And that's because the adjustment in the rear setup was dead nuts on. So that's the specifics of having a flat. If you don't have all the flats, or all your angles and stuff set right, that gets screwed up. So going back to the main reason of talking about that is if you get on the threads, okay, you start rolling over your threads, and then you start coming into issues where you start giving the car flats that it doesn't really need because you're rolling the threads over, and you're not actually changing the bar angle, or nothing's actually moving, but the bolt itself is moving in the hole. So as you can see, in the real process, we'll be running the right size bolt, and I'll cut all the bolts down like I did in the previous builds. But for right now, 4 washers gets us to a point. That is not a 1/2-inch bolt. That was in the wrong bin or something. Okay, so we're not going to go there. Okay, so that's that. These are going to be the lower 4-link bars / ladder bars. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to go with a ladder bar or a 4-link car. The ladder bar setup that I build, I like it a lot. It's shown to be proven, and I haven't seen many ladder bar setups the way I build them, but they seem to work out pretty well. So in that case, we're going to at least be running a 1.5-inch 120 wall chromoly lower bar on there. The lower bar is pushing, the upper bar is pulling, whether it's a 4-link car, ladder bar car, or even a leaf spring car with like a Cal track setup. The lower bar, because the pinion angle is trying to rotate, the lower bar is pushing forward, the upper bar is pulling. So right now it's set up to have basically, let me set this up real quick for you. So if you're going to go through, and this would be a lower bar setup, this will be our front pickup point. It's a 3/4 inch hole pickup point, because with the ladder bar setup, I don't want to run a 1/2 inch bolt, because all your strength, all your power that you're putting through the car ends up going to a single fulcrum point in the center, and that would be your instant center point. Well, using a 1/2 inch bolt or a 5/8 bolt, I just feel is a little on the shy side. So if you're using a single point pickup point, I use a 3/4 inch bore for the ladder bar setup. Can you pause it for a second? All right, guys. So getting back to it, for a diameter wise, if we're getting to, let's say we're putting 2,500 horsepower through a ladder bar car, which is definitely doable and definitely strong enough to do so. I just want to be putting my power through a bolt of that diameter there, and not that diameter. 1/2 inch is just a little bit small in my opinion for that. You can use like I think it's called a NAS style bolt. They're a little bit stronger, but normal grade 8, grade 10 bolts, they're plenty strong. As long as you're riding on the shank of the bolt. The bolt should have nothing to do as far as holding the pieces together. They simply, you just tighten it up, and the bolt, it's working on the shank of the bolt and not like the threads or anything like that. But in doing so, when you have to put some rear steer into a car and stuff like that, you do start working your Heim joints on a slight angle, so you got to check your Heim joints every once in a while. And the way I do the ladder bar, or even a 4-link car, like I talked about a little bit earlier in the video, I like doing like a triangulated lower bar there. So I'll put an X in the lower bars. The X in the lower bars, so let's set this up like so. Let's set that up like so. If I put an X from this point here to this point here, and this point here to this point here, we now have a very stable situation, okay? And I could extend this Heim joint a little bit. I could extend that joint a little bit, and we could put the rear steer in the car in that way. But it keeps this joint from going farther and farther, or it keeps everything from twisting. It basically substitutes for a wishbone, and they make some really cool wishbones out there right now. And I run a wishbone on this front of the car, like I talked about earlier in the video. But in the rear of the car, when you already got multiple Heim joints, you got 4 Heim joints that are going to be sharing the stress of it, and you only have to add, maybe 2 feet and 3 feet of tubing. As far as your X in the lower bars there, it's a whole lot lighter than having all these big Heim joints and the threaded or the slip tube and all that stuff. It probably saves 2 or 3 pounds by just doing a triangulated lower bar. And when I was down at Frankie Taylor's, looking at that Mustang that we were thinking about buying just to modify to run for a little while before we decided to borrow Turbo John's car, that car, even on his car, he's going like 350s or so. In the 8th at, I don't know, well over 200 miles an hour, like 210, 212, 200, whatever it is, 220 miles an hour, whatever the hell he's doing now, with that big screw-blown Hemi, I believe it is, in there. He still runs a squared, triangulated lower 4-link bar. So the 4-link is all tied together on the lower half. Now, you can't really do it on the upper half just because of the geometry and the way things work. So, squared lower bar there. Now, let's see here. Now that these bars are here, this tube right here that I'm making up will sit on the top, okay? That sits on the top right there, and I put it as close to the, the bushing there, Heim end as possible, just for the stress and stuff like that. As far as, I was going to talk about something else. Oh yeah, I also make this bar, and I'll have a 3/4 inch rod end adjuster on it. So it's not just the bar. We actually also have a rod end adjuster. A rod end adjuster is basically a male and female Heim joint. Now, talking about setting up all the Heim joints, you see I have these all set up already for fabrication needs. So I can bolt this up to my 4-link housing, bolt this up to the chassis, and I measure for my bars and stuff like that. So now when I set all those up, okay, this one's a little screwed up. That's why it's not fully threaded together, and why I can't do the perfect demonstration, why we're not going to be YouTube superstars. But so a 3/4 inch bolt, needs a minimum of 3/4 inches of engagement. Okay, so I guess I could. Oh my goodness, I'm not prepared.
Fired.
So with the 3/4 inches of engagement, okay. So we'll go through here and we'll just mark out 3/4 inch real quick. 3/4 inch, right there. Okay. So a 3/4 inches of engagement is the minimum engagement that you need for a 3/4 inch Heim joint, okay? So that would be completely backed out. That would be this bushing at the farthest out you want it would be that distance there, okay? Now, if you go and, so now we got our 3/4 inches, then you measure that up, and you got another 3/4 inches. 3/4 plus 3/4 divided by 2 is 3 or 4. That'll be 3/8 of an inch, just under a ½ inch, okay? So, when you go and thread this in, on this side's the Heim joint. It's not going to be universal for all Heim joints. All Heim joints have different length threads on them as far as the diameter and different manufacturers and stuff like that. But universal for like a 3/4 inch Heim joint, I generally put the nut down, pull them all the way in, and then back them out to about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, I'll run them a little on the tight side, generally speaking, just so you have when you go to full extreme adjustment. And if you're getting to there, something's moving around in the chassis, just a personal opinion, and or you screwed up, your car's not square when you built your car. So you should never have to go into extreme angles of adjustment. So a lot of times I'll run these a little bit on the tight side. Sometimes I'll put them to about a 1/4 inch of adjustment as far as positive goes, so that you could go 1/4 inch and still have a little over 3/4 inch engagement when you back the joint all the way out. So some of you people are probably scratching your head right now, so I guess I could go back and kind of explain this a little bit more. So when I go through here, I get to reset this one. This is a left-hand thread guy. So when this is all the way set, all right, so if this is all the way set here like this, okay, that would be your maximum shortest distance for your bar, okay? But we need to go back and that's about a 1/4, half, 1. All right, so we got about 3/8 of an inch right there, okay? 3/8 of an inch of adjustment. So I'd lock that down, and that would be our center point, because now we could go out another 3/8 of an inch. So it'd be okay. Now that we're out our max length of adjustment, our rod would be at its longest point there, but we still have a little over 3/4 inches of engagement into our bung here. So we still have the full structural integrity of the Heim joint and the bung. You're working on the threads. Anything more than that, or anything less, or anything more than that is just a little bit overkill, I guess you could say. But anything less than that, you start working on the integrity of the Heim joint and working on the threads a little bit too long. And it's also extremely important that when you put your shit together, oops, we're gonna demonetize. When you put your stuff together, make sure you lock down your Heim joints, okay? I crawl under cars all the time trying to help people out at the track. Not all the time, but frequently. I'll crawl underneath the car, and you see their Heim joints with the freaking 1/8 inch gap in their nut, okay? That means you're using the threads, okay? You're working on the threads, similar to working on the threads if you don't have the right size bolt in there. You're working on the threads, and threads are strong and everything like that, but you gotta lock them down to like secure it. Otherwise, you're getting that rattling there, and like you have a lot of high frequency vibrations in race cars. We're not talking about I don't know, even a go-kart has a lot of vibrations, but we're not talking about like, I don't know, what would you say? We're not talking about your sleep number bed here, folks. There's going to be a lot of vibrations. You might get a weird inference about that, but whatever. So on and so forth. Okay? There's a lot of vibrations in a race car. There's a lot of solid, like we don't run, it's not a convenience car, okay? It's a race car. There's a lot of solidly mounted objects. There's a lot of solidly mounted things. That's why something like the low dollar motorsports sensor block and stuff like that is important to get those frequencies out of it. Now, do as I say, not as I like, because you'll see some sensors on the altered intentions out there that is kind of like they're solidly mounted, and they're not supposed to be. I'm aware of that. All the sensors that are absolutely needed on that car are not solidly mounted, but I do have some sensors on that car that are solidly mounted, and they shouldn't be, okay? But that's neither here nor there. Next one on this tangent again. But there's a little bit about Heim joints and stuff like that and setting up the Heim joints. I also went through and all these deals. Yes, I could make my own, but for the $2 that they charge or whatever, it's just cheaper just to order the damn things, because it's not worth my time to make all these laser cut deals. So I go through and clean them all up, and it's put it on the sander, cleaned all the edges up. So when these get TIG welded in there, they're nice and structural. And then I'll go and once I make the bars, I'll probably box in the top part and weld them on the inside and outside like I normally do, just to make sure they have full structural integrity. But I don't know. How long is that video? Probably too long. People aren't going to have the attention span to watch it all.
10 minutes on this one.
10 minutes, okay. We're probably good. That's probably good enough for that video. Now I get to kick you all out of here and I actually get some work done tonight. The night's young. It's only what, 11 o'clock, midnight? The night's young. I got some work to do. So that's probably enough for today's video, guys. I appreciate everyone that likes and subscribes to the channel and supports us in any way, shape, or form. You will probably see us at War in the Woods Saturday, early morning. But we probably won't get there till Saturday. We're probably going to be racing Muncie, Indiana, the Big End Banger with Mid-America Customs and a couple other people that are putting on, well, Mid-America Custom puts on that deal. Then we got our buddies over at Pizza King, and I'm not really supposed to eat pizza with my stomach issues, but that pizza's pretty legit. So we're probably gonna go over there and get some of that Pizza King out of Indiana, guys. They're good people over there, and they make pretty good pizza too. So we'll probably go steal some of their pizza and race Muncie, and probably maybe upset a couple people that we put the car in there. But hey, 28s, steel roof and quarters. I don't know. We fit the bill. So Altered Intentions will probably be at Muncie, racing in the Big End Banger. I made a couple hits tonight. If I could get some video from my buddy's daughter that took some video, we'll post it up. And we would have had a couple more videos, but the cop decided to sit at the end of the track, or at the end of Nick Pliniak Raceway at Hustlin' Horsepower Raceway, and decided to sit there for like 3 hours and make sure we were being good Samaritans. And we helped a couple old ladies cross the street, and cleaned up some groceries and stuff like that, and mowed the grass as you was sitting there. So it's all good. I think we got our free pass for tomorrow. So I'm gonna be able to get you some videos tomorrow of testing Altered Intentions down here in Guadalajara, and should be all good. So I'm gonna eat my brownie, get back to work. See ya. Guys, here's a couple videos from testing. We made about 5 or 6 hits today, and we slowly made progress towards the end of the video, but we're not going to show all of our passes. Here, the first video, it's a little bit shy. It's not a really fast, but it was smooth. The other one here, we found a little compromise between the two. This one here was a little on the hot side. It wasn't overly smooth. It was moving. The chassis wasn't completely happy. You could see the rear end bounce a little bit. You could see the front end not moving overly smooth. So we had to make some suspension changes there. We made tire pressure changes. We made front and rear shock changes, but the car was still moving in the right direction. It didn't just go up in smoke. This video right here is a slower one, but it was going in the right direction. This is just a normal asphalt road. You could see the stones there and stuff like that. It's a very dusty road, dirty road. So you can't expect miracles on something like that. But with a couple more hits on this road, we'd be able to get a pretty good handle on it, and we did get a much better handle on it than what we're here. But the plan is to race Muncie, Indiana. We have a pretty decent handle on it for War in the Woods from the pass that we made down in Pageland at the front side no prep race, water brew down only. So from that race to here with this chassis, we need to make some rear shock adjustments that we did make, some front shock adjustments, and some tire pressure changes. But as you can see in this first video, it's smooth. And this other video, sorry that it's vertical and it's a little bit more difficult to see it. I need to explain to my buddy's daughter that you got to hold the phone sideways. But hey, it's something for you guys to see. Maddy wasn't here that day. She was out. I think she went to gymnastics that day. So here it's doing all right. But as you can see, we left it with a little higher RPM, and it bounced the tire a little bit, which is not a consistent pressure, so it went in tire smoke. But we'll have our stuff together for Muncie.